So welcome everyone. My name is Lara Bruce and I am the project director for the Colorado Child Welfare Scholars Consortium. Thank you so much for joining us and giving up some of your time today to learn more about this program. Hi, Teresa. Long time no see. We welcome your participation throughout this session and would welcome you to jump in, ask questions, raise your hand, put comments in the chat. Whatever is going to make this the most useful time for you all. We want to make sure that you get your needs met as much as possible. So to do that, I'm also joined today by a couple of our current scholars, and I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves. So Chase, will you jump in first?
Yes, I actually see some familiar faces. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chase Hagan. I am a concentration year scholar, and I am in my second year of the program. I'm currently employed at Mesa County in child welfare in a facilitation role.
Thanks, Chase. And how about you, Dan?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dan, he, him, his. I am at MSU. I'm an MSW student in my concentration year, and I am interning in Denver Human Services in ongoing.
Thanks. And Teresa is also one of our current scholars. So I don't want to put you on the spot, Teresa, but I just wanted to let everyone know who's here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Omobude. I'm with Haraparo County Department of Human Services. I'm with the intake unit. And so far, so good. It's been going on well. Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Thank you. Just in the interest of time, we won't go around and do introductions, but if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat just what's drawing you to this information session. If there's a specific question you want to make sure that we address. If you're a current county employee, it would be awesome to know what county you're with, just so we have some background for who's on the session with us today. And also if what university you are interested in or attending, that would be helpful to know. And I'm going to pull up our slides while you do that. All right. So I've got some slides to guide our conversation. I hope that we'll move through kind of what this program is, the nuts and bolts of our process, why this is valuable to our state and our county agencies, and leave time along the way for you to ask questions as well. So like I said, jump in anywhere with questions and comments that you want to add. So we are the Colorado Child Welfare Scholars Consortium. We have been around since 1995. And so I highlight that here because we were formerly known as the Child Welfare Stipend Program. So there are folks who still refer to us as the Child Welfare Stipend Program. So you might hear that name used interchangeably, the Child Welfare Stipend, the Child Welfare Scholarship. And I'll talk a little bit more about our consortium model here in a minute. But we are a partnership between the Colorado Department of Human Services, our university partners, and our county departments of human services. We've awarded hundreds of scholarships since 1995, over $10 million in stipends or scholarships. And we became a consortium last year, was our first year as utilizing this model. Our current university partners include the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, CSU Pueblo, and the University of Denver, the Graduate School of Social Work. And the consortium is housed at MSU Denver. We are the leader of this, and then we work with our other university partners. So I can speak a little bit to all of the social work programs that are involved. But if you're interested in a specific social work program, I would highly recommend that you reach out to them directly and get some more information about the specifics of their program. Each one of our programs is unique in how we offer courses, online, part-time, hybrid, all those different kinds of options that you might be looking for if you're a working professional that's going back to school, or someone who's, trying to move from a BSW program to an MSW program. All of our university partners are great, and offer different things for different folks. So I would highly recommend looking into those different options. We are a consortium model, meaning that MSU Denver is the lead university. And we moved to this model. We used to just be state funded through the Colorado Department of Human Services. Moving to this consortium model has allowed us to tap into some additional child welfare funding through Title IV-E of the Social Security Act. And we don't need to get into the details of that, but it's just important to know that that's the reason that we switched. This program really is a classroom to career opportunity for our scholars. So you get training both at the BSW level and the MSW level to move right into a caseworker position if you're not already employed by a Colorado County Department of Human Services. And you have an opportunity to enhance your learning and your training. If you are already working in the field, you kind of get the why behind the what of the practices that you might already be doing in child welfare. So I like to think of it as just another opportunity for you all to gain that valuable education and network with other professionals in the field. So thinking about child welfare in Colorado, I'm gonna actually stop sharing so I can see those of you who are off or who are on camera. On a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with child welfare in Colorado? With 1, you can put up your hand or you can put it in the chat. 1 is, I'm not familiar with child welfare at all. I'm brand new. I want to learn more about kind of the child welfare field. And 5 being, I already work in the agency and I have a wide breadth of knowledge and that kind of thing. So just show me by show of hands or in the chat. All right, we've got 5s, 3s, 2s, 1s. We're all over the place. Awesome. Okay. So for some of you, this is going to be completely repetitive, this next few slides, but for those who are brand new, I just like to give you a high level overview of child welfare and let our experts also chime in here as far as their experiences working in our system. So I like to highlight that child welfare in Colorado is what's known as a state supervised, county administered child welfare system. That means that our state supervises overarching practices through Volume 7 and the Colorado Children's Code, which really dictate our policies and procedures and minimum qualifications for things. But then each of our counties really looks different in how they roll out those policies and practices. And I see some folks nodding their heads because you know that child welfare practice in Denver County looks kind of different than child welfare practice in Gilpin County, for example. When it comes to the number of caseworkers and folks who work in the field and the availability of services and resources and things like that, there's just a variety of difference when you go from the bigger counties to some of the smaller counties. And that is just something to think about as you're planning for a child welfare position and career, that some folks really want to specialize in one area of child welfare and want to hone in on that area of practice. And some folks really want to work with a family all the way from the minute they come into the system and all the way through to case closure. And so it's just different cultures, different environments work for different folks. So we like to say, just because one county's doesn't feel like a fit doesn't mean that you're not going to find a fit in another county just based on county culture and differences and nuances there. Anybody want to add anything to that? Feel free to just come off mute. Okay. The goal of child welfare practice is really to keep kids safely in their homes with their families to the best extent possible, meaning that you really work with the entire family, not just the biological parents, but relatives, other caregivers, family, friends, other folks who might be a support to that family. It's less about, the focus on rescuing kids from their situations and more about how can we safely maintain kids by focusing on what this family needs at a holistic level. So, you know, the situation that brought that family into the agency in the first place might not be their overarching concern, right? If you can't keep your lights on because you can't afford your electric bill, you might also be having a hard time getting your kid to school, for example. And that snowball effect of kind of one issue leading to another. So it really is about kind of hooking families up with the services at the right time to meet their needs. And like I said, in larger counties, you might specialize in one of these areas from prevention to permanency. And then in the smaller counties, you're really responsible for all of, you know, each step of the process from intake to ongoing, and then working on a permanent plan for that family or that kid that you're working with. And you also get to work with a variety of professionals. So you work with judicial and legal folks, you'll work with mental health professionals, doctors, schools, lots of a variety of folks involved in the life of a family. Anybody want to add anything to that?
I would also say for intake caseworker, we do something like, do assessment on the red team, and we all kind of sit down together and kind of brainstorm if family meet criteria or not when we get reports. So it's just kind of integral way of doing research before going to conduct assessment with family.
Yeah, and I was just going to expand that there are, even though casework I feel like is a general term that we utilize to describe workers within child welfare, there's many different program areas, and even newer program areas that are emerging. And so I think if you are interested and you do take the opportunity to have an internship at a child welfare agency, I would really encourage you to try and experience as many different programs as possible to see if there is a good fit for you, and a place that you feel like you really can make a difference and that you enjoy working.
Thanks to both of you. Yeah, I think you bring up really good points. A couple of things I want to highlight. One is that we've really moved to group decision making. So what Teresa was alluding to around, you know, a lot of major decisions for kids and families are made by teams of folks, units of folks to come together, discuss cases, discuss biases and things that might also be contributing to the decisions that people are making. And then, so no one caseworker is making significant decisions in case situations on their own, always at least in consultation between a caseworker and a supervisor, and then more folks as possible throughout the life of the case. And the other thing I want to highlight is I often talk about casework in this presentation because for folks who are brand new to the field, that's often the position that you move into once you graduate from our program. But we also support folks who are already supervisors and managers and administrators. And we know that social work education really prepares you to work in each one of those levels in child welfare. I think social work education prepares you to be the most amazing supervisor that you can really be to support your team. And we know what a critical role that is in child welfare. It's like one of the main things that keeps people in the field is the relationship that they have between their team and their supervisor. So you can be at all levels of child welfare and be a part of our program, was the point of that long-winded explanation. And then I have to mention every time, this is also a documentation heavy field. This is definitely, child welfare is one of those areas where if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And so a significant chunk of time is spent on getting the paperwork right, so that should something happen to the caseworker, or should, you need to take a day off, someone could come in and have an up-to-date understanding of where you are in working with that family. And so we would be remiss if we didn't bring it up. As far as our scholarship program, like I said, we're a partnership with the Colorado Department of Human Services, and we're really viewed as a opportunity to prepare new folks for the field of child welfare that really aligns with our state's goals and requirements and competencies for child welfare practice. We also know that our program graduates tend to stay longer than your average child welfare caseworker, as far as the national average is about 18 months to 3 years. And our students in our most recent evaluation were staying anywhere between 4 and 6 years in the field. And we think that it's likely because you have this, if you're new to the field, you have this slow entry into casework where you get to do an internship, you build relationships, you build knowledge and skill before you're taking on a full caseload. And then for folks who are already working in the field, social work education really prepares you for more of that resilience, trauma-informed practice, self-care, really heavily reliance on what you need as an individual to stay healthy and continue to do this really hard work. So it's a really nice opportunity all around for all of our partners. Our county folks really see this program as in a year-long job interview. When you intern with them, you have an opportunity to get to know the county, and they have an opportunity to get to know you. And so you're really kind of finding that fit earlier than when you're jumping into a new position. And then, like I said, you're able to step into a caseworker role when you graduate because you've already been through all of the trainings and things like that. So one of the benefits of our program for our scholars is you do get to go through the new caseworker fundamentals training, which is the certification training series for anyone who is a new caseworker in the state of Colorado has to go through. You do that as part of your internship, and then you do all of the on-the-job training things that are required before you graduate so you can be a certified caseworker. You have an opportunity to network with lots of folks through this program, not just in your internship and in your school, but across all of our university partners. We're providing more and more opportunities for our scholars to connect virtually and hopefully face-to-face soon as well, to come together. And, these are the folks that you're going to be working out in the field with. And so it can be really helpful to have made a lot of those connections through our program. You also get to participate in the intercultural development inventory. I think my next slide actually has a short description about that. All of our students who are in their graduation year, so our BSSW seniors and our concentration year MSW students, get to go through the intercultural development inventory. And it's an opportunity to take an assessment to determine where you are on this intercultural continuum, and then participate in a series of learning exchanges related to intercultural competence, related to child welfare, and working across difference. And it's just a nice addition to our program this year that gives you another lens to look through when you're talking about cultural humility and cultural competence, that kind of thing.
And going backwards a little bit too, I think I do this every time, Laura. If you already employed at a Mesa or at a county agency and are already a certified worker, you do not have to recomplete the state academy, as long as you are still currently certified. And one of the benefits as well is that you can utilize your job as your internship experience, as long as it meets all of the necessary criteria as outlined by the learning competencies. And if not, you can always add other activities or responsibilities to ensure that it can be met. So you don't necessarily, you don't have to go internship in another county if you're already employed by one and can sufficiently meet all of those at the county that you're currently employed in.
Thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. I always forget. I don't want to scare people thinking you have to retake fundamentals. That's right. You can, the one caveat to the employment-based internship is that you meet weekly with an MSW supervisor that is different from your job supervisor. And that's just an opportunity for you to really put the pieces together with what you're learning in the classroom and how it actually already applies to what you're doing on the job. And it just can be a really nice way to put those pieces together. And our county partners have been really supportive of folks using, that 1 hour of supervision being part of your work week. You do fill out a separate employment-based internship form that then, puts all those pieces into place with your agency. The other piece about that for folks who are already working in counties is your social work coursework can count towards recertification time. So that 40 hours that you need every year to be recertified, you take enough courses, social work courses, to meet the requirement for that recertification. There's a separate training matrix that you fill out that just, where you put in the classes that you've taken, and they all qualify for that. So that's another bonus too, if you're already working. Any questions about any of that? Any other thoughts people want to jump in with? Okay. All right. So as far as our scholarship goes, you should apply to a BSW or MSW program in Colorado. You can go ahead and apply as soon as possible to the program or programs that you're interested in. You might want to apply to more than one and see if, where you get accepted. Do that in accordance with the social work admissions timeline. Every school has their own timeline for submitting your application to those programs. Simultaneously, you're going to want to apply to our program. No matter what school you go to, as long as it's one of those 4 schools I mentioned, you complete the same application for our scholarship. So you would apply for the Child Welfare Scholarship. If you meet all the required qualifications and you complete the short answer questions in the application, you participate in an interview with a panel of folks from our consortium. It usually consists of a university person, a CDHS person, and at least one county Department of Human Services representative. If you are offered a scholarship, you would sign a contract between you and the CCWSC. That just says that you will do your internship in a county Department of Human Services or a tribal child welfare agency. There's 2 down in the Southwest that tribal child welfare agencies that take student interns. You need to complete all your social work coursework and remain in good standing with the social work program that you're in. And then the big commitment is that you agree to work for at least 1 year for every year that you get the scholarship. So if you are in the BSSW program and you want to go into the MSW program, you can apply for the scholarship both of those years. If you're in the 2-year MSW program, you can apply for the scholarship for both of those years. So if you do the 2-year, if you do get a scholarship for 2 years, then it's a 2-year work commitment that you're making when you graduate from the social work program. Those are the big requirements. And then each of our individual universities has a few additional. The Graduate School of Social Work at DU has a child welfare concentration, and they require you to be on that track. And then for our BSSW students at MSU Denver, you are required to take 2 electives, either in the summer or the fall of your senior year. And that's child welfare and the law and social work and child maltreatment. Those 2 courses just really give you a great foundation for social work practice or child welfare practice in Colorado. So they can be really helpful as you're going into your internship. And then if you're interested, check with some of the other schools. Those are the ones that I was aware of, and I checked in with our university partners and they didn't have anything to add, but check in with them and make sure that there aren't any other requirements. Questions about that?
I have a question. I got my BSW a while ago in 2011 from Metro. Is there a time frame to be considered like advanced standing, or do you know?
That's a really good question, and I think it depends on the school. My understanding was that it used to be you had to be within 5 years of graduating from the BSSW program to be advanced standing in the MSW program, but that may have changed. So I would ask the social work program directly.
Yeah, I would double check. I believe it is 6 years, or that's the last time I heard it was 6 years.
Okay.
And I know that there are, I know that with MSU, if it is a gap longer than 6 years, you can reach out to them. So I want to say that it's possible outside of that period as well, or at least there's a conversation able to be had.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question. I put in the chat a flyer that has our university contacts at each of the other universities. Each school has a point of contact for the scholarship, and that you can always direct your questions to them, and if they don't know, they'll put you in touch with the right person at their school to answer any of those other questions. Anything else?
I will just say for the BSSW students at MSU, not only are those courses, those 2 electives there required, but if you're someone who is interested in child welfare, but you might be not as familiar with it and you kind of want to know more, those are great opportunities. That kind of really helped me when I was in the undergraduate program. And I know that some of them are also, I took at least one of those courses over the summer as well. So they have been available in the past.
Yep. Thanks, Dan. And I should also mention, I don't know that I've mentioned it before, but for folks who are kind of new to this field and you're not sure if you want to make the commitment to child welfare as a career choice, you always can do an internship in a county Department of Human Services without the scholarship. It's just a requirement of our scholarship. So just know we oftentimes get people who are like on the fence about, what their career path really looks like, but they want to try this child welfare thing. That is always an option outside of getting this scholarship. Certainly we want our folks who become child welfare scholars to complete their work requirement and then stay in the field as long as possible. If you don't complete the work requirement, you are required to pay back the scholarship. We do prorate the scholarship amount. So if you work for 6 months when you graduate, then you would owe back half of the scholarship. So it really is a serious commitment. And so we just want to make sure that people are ready for that commitment when they agree to join our program. And on that note, I realize I'm getting ahead of myself because we haven't even talked about what the scholarships are. So our scholarship amounts are for the MSW full-time program. If you are interested in a urban county, and I have a map on the next slide that will show you what's considered urban and rural. Urban counties, we give a scholarship of $12,000 for the year. That gets split across 2 semesters. So you get $6,000 in the fall and $6,000 in the spring. For folks who are interested in DU, they're on the quarter system, and that pays out across the 3 quarters, fall, winter, spring. You get that split into thirds. The BSSW students get $7,000 in the full-time program. If you are interested in doing rural child welfare practice, we incentivize the scholarship because we need social workers and well-qualified caseworkers and supervisors in our rural communities. And so we offer a small bump in the scholarship to $14,000. And I'll just move forward to our slide about that because as you can see, most of our communities in Colorado are considered rural. Except for our major metropolitan areas. So the blue counties are all considered our urban counties. So if you have an interest in rural child welfare practice, definitely consider our scholarship in the rural. You do your internship and the work payback portion in a rural county. You don't have to stay in the same county that you intern with. So if you intern in Denver County and then are able to get a job in Arapahoe County because that's where you live and you want to be close to home, that's completely fine. You just can't hop between a rural scholarship and then an urban work requirement, if that makes sense. And like I said, that gets split across the quarters or semesters, and that gets applied directly to your student tuition. So you don't ever see it. It just goes directly to decrease the overall amount of tuition that's owed at your university. And these are the counties where we already have partnerships. And I realized at our last presentation that we do need to update this because MSU is obviously in Mesa County. So I don't know why there isn't a dot there, but we are always open to other partnerships. So if you currently work in a county that's not on this map, or you're interested in working in a county that's not on this map or that's not identified on this map, please let me know. Part of my job is also to work with our county partners to set up internships and to set up opportunities for our students. So I would love to have that conversation with you if you're interested. Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about how you came about how the internship process worked once you found out you were a scholar?
Yeah, of course. So for me, it was something that I think that I felt that I was kind of maybe potentially a little bit behind on it, but it seems based on information from the last session I attended that things flowed the way that they should have. But so I'm an advanced standing student, so I graduated last year from MSU with my BSSW. So I was in my senior year and I was applying to grad school advanced standing here and then also to this scholarship. And so if you are applying early decision, you're for MSU at least, you would have already have submitted that, which is beneficial because you get to find out around this time. Otherwise, I think that the regular application is due sometime during winter break. And so as you when you apply for that, shouldn't stop you from, as you're waiting to hear back from applying to the scholarship. You'll get notification of the acceptance to your university if you are applying to an MSW program, and you'll apply to this scholarship. You'll have an interview and you'll prep for the interview, which Laura kind of covered a little bit previously. And once you attend that, they'll let you know if you've been accepted or not. And it's at that point that you start to apply to the internships. Which county do you want to have an internship with? You have to apply to the scholarship and to the internship. They're two separate things. But if you've applied and been accepted to the scholarship, that's the hard part. You still have to go through the process. You still have to kind of prove yourself. But these counties, they know that they'll ask you, you should let them know that you are a scholar, but they'll also ask you when you apply, and they want to have you aboard. I know that at DHS this semester, I think that there are not looking at those who are already employed and interning, but interns who are in school. There are 10 of us, and I think 8 of us are scholars. So it gives you a leg up. So once you're accepted, once you get notification of the scholarship, you can start to apply to internships. Kind of have in mind which ones you want to, what you're interested in and what counties you might be interested in. are you able to do a role? If you're not, then because you have transportation, you don't have a car, that's going to probably make that difficult. But if you know, like I like I live in Denver, that's proximity. My internship in my senior year of my BSSW, which was not in human services, but I worked in the human services center in Adams County. So I knew I had interests there. So kind of know those things kind of going in, and then you can kind of start that process of applying directly to the counties.
And from my perspective, as somebody who is already employed upon entry, I would really encourage you guys to already begin having those conversations with your supervisor and managers if you need to about, you know, what the expectations are, managing that dual role of being not only an employee, but a student, and learning and making sure that you are able to balance both of those commitments. I think those are really important, transparent conversations to have to set you up for success. And it will have to be documented clearly, as Laura had kind of explained in that application process of an employment-based internship, about, you know, what are those expectations, how are those things going to be upheld, and how are you going to make sure that, you know, you're not compromising your job for this internship and you're not compromising your learning for your job. So I think those are very important conversations to have, and, you know, go as high up as you need to make sure that all of that is very clear.
I would just add real quick, when you're thinking about applying to internships, think about what questions you want to ask, and kind of one of the previous slides covered those roles. If you were in smaller counties, you might be able to be exposed to all of those different areas of intake and ongoing permanency, as counties with less employees kind of sometimes will handle multiple roles, whereas me in Denver, I'm just on an ongoing team. So I just do that. That being said, talk to them and see what kind of flexibility there is to shadow other teams, to kind of see how other teams work. I have a very supportive, not only supervisor and team, the whole learning and development team is very supportive at DHS. And so if I need the opportunity to shadow a visitation or do a shadow intake, they've always been more than willing to set those up.
Thanks to you both. Yeah, you have lots of options. And so, you know, this really is a nice opportunity for you to also think about, or also interview. I want to just piggyback on what Dan was saying as far as, you know, interview with a couple of different counties, and see what their opportunities look like, and see what experiences you might have that are unique to that county. Because it is a two-way street as far as the interview goes. You get to interview them as much as they get to interview you. Great. And then, so let's talk about the nuts and bolts of our application process. Our applications, we changed up how we're doing them next year. So first of all, if you are interested in getting a scholarship for the 2023-2024 academic year, this spring is the time to interview. We award scholarships before the end of the academic year so that you will know for the next year whether or not you've been awarded a scholarship. So if you are in your BSSW junior year looking for this opportunity for your senior year, now is the time to apply and interview. And at any point in the MSW, you know, process, now is the time for you to interview and apply. And so we're doing rolling applications this year for this year's process. And that means that we will take applications by the 15th of each month, starting in January and going all the way through May. We'll take that pool of applicants that come in by the 15th. They'll get reviewed. You'll get an interview by the end of that month or early the following month. And then we're hoping to just start awarding scholarships as quickly as possible as part of this new process. So it is definitely to your advantage to get your application in as soon as possible. The earlier, the better in January or February, because once we award the scholarships and the money runs out, we won't be able to award any more later on in the year. So we are asking people to apply as early as possible as part of the priority process. But we also know that some folks want to wait until they find out from the social work programs if they got accepted, things like that. Our goal in doing it this way is you'll know if you've been awarded a scholarship sometimes before you even know if you've been accepted into a social work program. And then you can think about, do I want to take this scholarship and go to DU? Do I want to take this scholarship and go to MSU? You can factor that into your kind of financial package overall in the process. So that's our plan. The applications are all online on our website. I will put the link in the chat as soon as I get a second. There is an online form that you fill out. We also ask that you provide a 1 to 2 page resume, that you complete the federal education release of information form for the school or schools that you're interested in attending. Those forms are also on our website. You just can download it, fill it out, and submit it with your application. And then we ask that you provide contact information for 1 to 2 references. So for first-time applicants, we ask that your 2 references be someone who is acquainted with your writing skills, personal qualities. If they're connected to child welfare, that's great. But we also know that there's lots of skills that you gain from other places that are also very relevant to child welfare. So it's okay if your references don't have direct child welfare experience. You'll give their information, their contact information in your application, and then the application system will automatically send them a reference request. So you don't have to manage that piece of it. You just have to provide their contact information. But I will say, please have a conversation with them before you submit your application so that they know that that reference request is coming. Because we're going to ask that they turn those around fairly quickly so that we can add them to your application as part of that review process. So please let them know in advance, because as soon as you hit submit, that reference request goes to them. For our county employees, one of your letters of reference or reference requests must be from your current child welfare supervisor. We really want to make sure that you're having, like Chase said, you're having those conversations with folks in advance, that they are prepared to support you on this journey. And so, that they would recommend you for the scholarship as well. And then there's several short answer questions or essay questions. There is a sample application available on the website. I would recommend download that, download the questions, prepare them in advance in a Word document where you can spell check and do all those things, and then copy and paste from the Word doc into the online application. It will just help you be more prepared when you sit down to do the application. You can log in and out of our new application system. So if you start your application, but you don't finish it, you can come back to it. Just remember to go all the way through and submit at the end, because that's how we know that you've submitted your kind of final version of your application and we can start to review it. Any questions about that?
Are the interviews in person or online?
They're going to be on Zoom again next year. Yep. And how we've done it in the past, and I'm pretty sure we'll do it the same way this year. We haven't finalized it, but we typically send you the interview questions about 15 minutes before your interview. So you have a few minutes to look them over, prepare a little bit. But we're really just looking to hear from you about why you're interested in child welfare, what your passion is, your interests, things like that. Other questions, thoughts?
I'll just say that because everyone here is kind of coming from different areas and different bases of knowledge, and when I applied, there can be some like, do I know enough? Do I have enough experience? I worked in, I had taken undergraduate electives in child welfare, and I'd worked at an internship that was child welfare related, but was not at a human services county. So there was kind of, I had some nervousness going into it. And I don't want to say that you don't need to know your stuff and know information, but really what they're looking for, I think the thing that advice that I can give is like, if this is something that you're passionate about, then go forth, because that's what they're looking for. If you prepare yourself with what you've experienced, whether that's in classes or just the application and what they're looking for, I think there's a series of questions that will prepare you for the interview process. Kind of like those are kind of the areas that are going to be covered. So if you're having trouble with the application, focus on those areas.
Thanks, Dan. I used to always say, and I'll share it again because I think it's so relevant. There is relevancy in almost every job that you or experience that you have had that is related to being a child welfare worker. Even if your experience was a coffee barista, for example, there is something to be said for the customer service, the multitasking, the like level of responsibility that comes with, those kinds of positions that are very relevant to child welfare work and the juggling of priorities and things like that come in that work. So don't sell yourself short with the skills that you already have. And for those of you who are already working in the field, we really do want to see that on paper. We want to hear that, the experiences that you've had and how that's relevant and why you're passionate about the work. I think sometimes folks who have been in the field for a while do sell themselves short because they're like, well, I've been at this for a long time and they should know that what I know because this is what I know. And we really want to see that loud and clear in your application and in those short answer questions. Other questions? Thoughts? Since we have a couple minutes, I just want to show you real quick. If you're on our website and you go to our drop-down menu under interested students is scholar applications. This is the site that I was referencing earlier when I said you can find the FERPA forms for each school are here. The information about the resume and references. There's a checklist here to make sure you have everything that you need for the application. And then there's a sample, where is it? There is a sample application here. So you can download it here. And just the short answers are also listed here. And then when you're ready, you can click here to apply, or I think the application button is at the top too. And that takes you right to the actual application page where you can log in and start your application. What else?
I will also say that if you're in a position where you might not have as much, maybe you haven't taken the electives yet, or you're you don't have the kind of county connections, like feel free to like see who is teaching. Like I know the electives for undergraduate at MSU, they're taught by caseworkers, or at least the ones that I took, are instructed by caseworkers at different counties. Shoot them, like see who, look it up in the course catalog, see who's teaching what, reach out. I've found that here, whether it's related to child welfare or just like my educational success, a lot of the instructors I've had are really excited and happy to see me succeed educationally, academically. So if you're one of those people who's like not sure about requesting recommendation letters, or you don't know if you have the right people, talk to them, reach out and be like, hey, can we have a short conversation? I'm looking for this, but I don't feel like I have this area here, and they'll help you figure it out.
Thanks, Dan. And I think that's also a good segue into we're here Myself, and she's not able to join us today, but Brooke Rohde is my counterpart. She's our administrative and financial project manager. She does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff to provide the scholarships each semester and quarter. Anyway, the two of us work on this program full time. We're the only two full-time folks in the state. Reach out to us if you have questions. I'll put our general email in the chat, but you're also more than welcome to reach out to either of us directly. And similar to what I said earlier, if we don't know the answer, we are happy to put you in touch with the folks at either school, at any of the schools, or at MSU that could help you navigate things, because this is one of the most fun parts of my job, is just helping people figure out their fit in child welfare or in social work education, whatever that looks like for you. So we're more than happy to get on individual Zoom calls or on the phone and just chat about your unique situation and what it might mean for our scholarship and for the opportunities that are available to you. So reach out if you need anything. I don't know, Chase or Dan, if you want to also provide your emails just in case folks want to follow up with you.
I will also say real quick that I think probably dating back to probably at some point in my junior year of my undergraduate program, I think I've sent multiple emails to Lara and to Brooke, maybe to the point where I say I've inundated them, maybe not to that level, but they've been so extremely helpful before I was a scholar, but when I was casually thinking about it, to now that I am. Such immense support, and they all seemed very happy to respond to anything that I had, to the point where I now got to be invited to be here and talk to you all about it.
And I would just kind of reiterate what Lara was saying earlier, especially for those of you who are already in the field. Sell yourself. I think a lot of times, I think I see a lot of faces in here, like I said, that I'm familiar with, and I mean, the stories, the things that we see, the number of families that we help, I think sometimes when you're in this work, you kind of forget. And then this process really makes you stop, look, and actually look back at all the things that you've done. And I really encourage you guys to bring those stories forward, what you've learned, how you've grown, how you want to continue to grow, and what are your goals, especially for your sustainability in this field, because it is a very challenging field, I think, as many people know. And for you to be able to move forward and also engage in one of these really challenging programs, it's going to take a lot of support. So what are your plans to continue to maintain yourself in this very challenging field, and what are your ideas for moving forward?
Yeah, I'm so grateful that the Council on Social Work Education changed the requirement now that you can use your job for your internship, because the reality is you are using social work skills every day in the work that you're doing. And I said it already, but the real why behind the what you're doing is what you get from the social work theories and practices. And then to enhance those, right? To dig deeper into motivational interviewing and to dig deeper into CBT and things like that, you're already utilizing a lot of those things. And it's that weekly supervision that then you get to have those aha moments of oh, this is what we're doing in class, and this is what it looks like in real practice in the field. And so that opportunity, I'm just so grateful that they have made it so that you don't have to find different tasks. You don't have to find, a whole nother internship experience. You can just continue to do what you're doing and put those pieces together. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I want to just thank you all for taking the time to hang with us for this last hour. I will stay on, and if Chase and Dan can hang out for another minute or two, and if folks do have individual questions that you want to tackle before we hop off, we'll stick around. But otherwise, reach out, let us know what you need. Good luck. And yeah, we look forward to hopefully seeing your applications. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.